I'm Mario Martinez Jr., CEO and founder of Vengreso, and we are the creators of FlyMSG.io, the free personal writing assistant and text expander application. On each episode of this podcast, you will hear from sales leaders, practitioners, and influencers to help you grow your sales numbers at scale. So, get your pen and paper or iPad and keyboard and start taking notes as you're now listening to the Modern Selling Podcast.
Mario is the CEO and founder of Vengreso, the creators of FlyMSG AI, an all-in-one productivity assistant that types and writes for you. Saves you an hour a day, and hopefully it writes to our dreams and wishes as well. Mario, he has spent 25 years in B2B sales, marketing, and executive leadership. In 2003, he was named the most influential CEO software solutions category by CEO Monthly and was selected as one of 20 sales influencers invited to appear in Salesforce.com documentary film, The Story of Sales. Mario hosts the popular Modern Selling podcast as well, but today he is joining us on this podcast episode. Mario, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on.
Joshua, I'm excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me, buddy. This is going to be great conversation, and excited to talk to all your listeners.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to talk to you too. I'm excited to get into your history, get into your stories. But before we really get into that, Mario, where did this all begin? Did you always know you were going to get into sales? Did you always know you were going to get into tech or AI? Anything in your childhood that, or pivotal moment experiences that led you to this path? What is the story of Mario Martinez?
No, I didn't know I was always going to get into sales. No, I didn't know that I would be getting into AI. And no, I didn't know that I was going to have and own my own business. Almost everything happened all by accident, actually, with the exception of going out and doing fundraising. That was intentional for venture capital fundraising for FlyMSG. With that in mind, how it all began was I was a photo finisher at a camera company called Ritz Camera Centers. Now, Ritz Camera Centers, you used to drive to these Ritz Camera Centers, bring your 35 millimeter long, your film, and you used to bring them, and they would develop them and print your 4x6 pictures or 3x5 pictures so that you'd have them inside of a photo album.
Okay.
All right, so we're going back old school now because everything's digital. You synchronize it to Dropbox, you put it on your computer, and that's how you have it. And you put everything through social media, and you build these these photo albums through a digital medium. So I actually started as a photo finisher, and I got accepted to UC Berkeley, which is Cal, and I needed to transfer over from the Concord store to the Berkeley store in California. Oh. And as such, when I went to go do an inter-district transfer, the regional manager came in one day. His name was Hunter Anderson. I remember his name. He had a toupee. You could always see the bobby pins underneath his toupee, poor guy. But he came in and he said he needed to talk to me about my inter-district transfer request. Mm-hmm. And so he started out with, hey, there's good news and there's bad news. Which one do you want first? And I'm always the bad news type of guy first. Give me the bad news. And so bad news is I can't approve your request. And I was like, what? What do you mean you can't approve my request? What's going on? He's like, I need to talk to you about something. So he opened up this binder, and inside there, the district manager used to always come to the store, and they had the printout. And in the printouts, it used to be the bunch of dots all the way across where you put it into a binder. And he started going through these numbers and started showing me my numbers for the last 12 months. And my numbers were always in the top 3 sales positions as a part-time photo finisher, not as a sales associate, but photo finisher. So he asked me, he says, look at the numbers. And I said, okay, great. What's wrong with them? And he said, I need to know, how are you selling all of this volume? And I was like, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean, how am I selling you all this volume? What are you talking about? He's like, this is not normal. And so at first I thought, are you accusing me of stealing? Like fudging the numbers? Like I didn't understand what was going on. So he ended up saying, you don't understand what this means, do you? And I'm like, no. Do you understand what I'm showing you? I'm like, no. And so he says, all right, let me ask you a question. How do you go about selling customers all this equipment, camera equipment, photo equipment, this equipment, filters, da, 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 da. And I said, I don't know. I don't know how. I talked to them. And he's like, walk me through a process. What do you do from the time someone walks into a store to the time someone leaves? So I said, okay, before someone comes into the store, I take all their photos. After we print them off on this big machine, I put all the really, really bad pictures on the top. He's like, okay, why do you do that? I said, well, because when they come in, I open the box up and I show them, are these your photos? And then the first thing that they do is, oh, I didn't get Johnny running in the track meet, or, the soccer game, Billy didn't come out. And so then that's when I say to them, oh, okay, well, I tried to fix some of these, but I couldn't, because I want them to know it wasn't the photo finisher's messed up, botched job that didn't print out the actual pictures correctly. And so he goes, well, what happens next? And I said, well, they then say, oh, no, well, how do I get my photos that are of Johnny and Billy running and playing soccer? And so then I ask, are you going to be doing these types of pictures a lot more? And then they say, well, yes, because I'm obviously going with my son and my daughter to this or that event. And I said, okay, well, what type of camera equipment do you have? And then they would say, the camera equipment. Then I'd say, oh, well, you have the wrong equipment. And then they would say, well, what type of equipment should I have? Now, I'm the guy in the white lab coat. Yeah, yes. I'm the guy that's wearing the lab coat that's printing your pictures. And I say, well, you would need this type of camera, an SLR, single lens reflex. You need this type of lens. You need this type of film. You need this type of shutter speed. You need to be able to have fast motion. And they would say, okay, well, what camera does that? And I would show them the camera. And then they would say, so this will solve that problem. I said, yes. And then they would say, okay, let's get it. And I would say, great. And they would say, well, what type of film do I need? You need this type of film, which is the fast film for fast pace. And they would say, oh, great. And then I go to ring it up, and I would say, hey, do you want the warranty? And they say, no, I don't need the warranty. I said, well, look, I'm just the lab guy, but here's the one thing I do know. The warranty covers accidental breakage, damage. If you shatter this whole thing and drop it, you're going to be able to be covered. Bring it to us in pieces. And I said, is there a possibility you might drop it on the bleachers or drop it on the concrete? And they're like, well, yeah, of course. And I'm like, look, it's only an extra $60, $70, and it covers everything for, 1, 2, or 3 years. And they're like, okay, that makes sense if it covers accidental damage. So I would add that on there. So at the end of it, someone's walking out, instead of paying $30 for their photos, they would end up walking out with a $500 to $1,000 bill. And so Hunter says, you do all this? And I was like, well, yeah, I do all this. And he was like, do you know what you're doing? And I was like, I just helping a customer out. And he was like, that's exactly what you're doing. What you're telling me is how you're selling more is you're just helping a customer solve a problem.
Interesting.
And that's when he said, so let me tell you the good news. The bad news is I can't approve your request to transfer. The good news is I will approve your request to transfer to the Berkeley store, but not as a photo finisher, but as a sales associate. And so he put me in there as a sales associate, and that's where I started in retail selling, and I did the exact same motion, led the region in sales as a part-timer, going to school full-time at Cal, and then I got moved to the Oakland store where it was the top #1 producing in the region store as a part-timer, and that's how I led sales there. So that's how I discovered that I truly actually was a salesperson, not because I thought of it, because Hunter Anderson said, the guy with the toupee, he's the one that said, you need to go into this segment. And the best part is that line that he told me of what I was doing is the same line that I used 23 years later in the Story of Sales, the documentary that Salesforce.com produced, and they selected 20 sales influencers, and I was one of them. And my famous line that Mark Benioff introduced at Dreamforce in 2019 with my video on the screen was, sales is the art of helping. And that's a full circle of how I became a salesperson and how I went down into this path for the last 27 7 years now, starting out at the age of 19 years old.
Wow, what a fascinating story. And of course, it's not always every day that you find out that you're going to be a salesperson, right? But at the same time, many of these stories actually, you find out that it's always been innate in them, right? The kind of like a salesperson, or like being able to help people. But I love that. Sales is the art of helping people. Very fascinating. And that I wanted that brings a question, or raises a question in my mind. Has this always been innate in your life? Did you see this pattern or this skill of yours, this ability of yours to naturally help people that, help you become a better salesperson? What were some instances in your life that you feel like, yeah, this has always been me?
Well, I thought I was going to go into pre-law in college. That's where the path I was going. But then I couldn't pass Statistics 101 with Professor Purves. That was his name, Professor Purves, at Cal Berkeley. And funny part was, so this is another great story that I tell my kids. I thought I was a pretty smart guy, and I thought I could easily, do math and science and all that good stuff. And so I missed like the first maybe 5 weeks of lecture of Stats 101. Now, if anybody who's taken stats, you understand that stats is not the same as math. They are totally different, two different sides of the brain. You cannot apply mathematical skills with statistical analysis. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to show up on week 6 into a 14-week semester, and I was completely lost. So I came up with this plan that I was going to go to office hours twice a week, to the professor's office hours. We had over 450 kids. There were 10 GSI instructors and then 1 professor. So the professor held office hours twice a week for an hour. And I decided I'm going to go, and I'm going to try to learn everything that I unlearned or didn't learn in the first 5 weeks of the course. And then I said, worst case scenario, he'll see that I tried. And if I fail, hopefully he'll give me a passing grade, which of course doesn't happen, right? So long and short of it is I went for basically about 8 weeks straight to office hours twice a week, and I couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. So my GSI instructor called me over the Christmas break at that year, and he said, I've got good news and I got bad news. Which one do you want first? Bad news guy all the time. It's kind of a theme. So I said, bad news first. He's like, bad news is you failed the class because you failed the final. On the curve. You got a 45% on the curve, right? Okay. And so bad. And so bad. It was too late to drop statistics. So I was like, oh my God. I'm like, that's horrible. So I was like, well, what possibly could be the good news? So here you go. The good news is, he says, I don't know what you did, but at the graduate student instructor meeting with the professor, all 10 of us were sitting there, and he says, who has Mario Martinez inside their class? And the GSI said, well, I do. And he says, what did he get? He said he got a 45 on the curve. And he said, 45? And he said, yeah. He said, give him a C- and move him along.
Wow, there you go.
And so it worked. It worked. Like UC Berkeley, the professor gave me a C-, even though I didn't pass the class, just so that I can move along, because my brain didn't work that way, but I would never again take stats. So that's when I knew. I was like, all right, I think I'm on to like selling people something, including myself. And so my next internship that I did was doing sales and marketing for a newsletter company. And then I went in at 19 is when I actually got my first software sales job as an SDR, or then called telemarketer, now called SDR, and the rest is history. Within my first year, I got promoted. Within the first year as an account executive, I hit President's Club. By 21, I was making 6 figures, and I bought my first house here in the Bay Area.
Wow, that is fantastic. That's quite the story. Again, it really shows that is how naturally it comes to you. It has been appearing and innate and throughout your whole life. I want to get real quick, because this is like a whole path. Like, you have had this very successful sales career path, but I want to get into now on how it led you to where you are now with FlyMSG AI. How did this kind of career path direct you into that direction where you now are leading an AI company. Talk to us a bit about that, and what was the inspiration behind FlyMSG AI?
Great question. So I'll take you back to Vengreso. Its legacy started 7 years ago, and it was with the idea that I had rolled out a digital sales training program to 350 sellers, and it was LinkedIn's most successful enterprise deployment that they had, and still the most successful one they'd had to date, meaning 100% rep adoption, and 100% of the reps were able to attribute one sales opportunity to the open pipeline. It had never been done before, and it has not been repeated again. So I was the first and only company to ever do that in their client base. With that in mind, there was a round of layoffs that were happening, and I was the VP of sales, and I did not want to be with a shrinking company, so I ended up taking a package. And as such, 3 months earlier, I had just spoken at LinkedIn's annual users conference. So I had published a blog on LinkedIn blogs at that point in time when they were really popular. And it was an article called "Dad, You Said LinkedIn Would Make You Money." And it was a conversation with my then 5-year-old, now 13-year-old. And he was asking me about, like, why am I going to be able to take him to school, and how am I going to find a new job if I don't have a job, and whether or not someone's going to be able to pay for his playground that he had, the playground set in the backyard. Okay. And it turns out that that article was read by 2 different executives that were, one was there and one was not. And within basically 9 days of publishing it, I had 2 Fortune 100s reach out to me saying, hey, they wanted to hire me to start doing digital sales training for their sellers. Uh-huh. And so I said, fantastic, no problem. And so that's how I started the company. And then when I started the company, it was small, of course, one-man shop. I wanted to think much bigger. And so to think much bigger, I decided to do a 7-way company merger. Essentially, 14 months after I started, 14 months after I started my own company. And I did a 7-way company merger. 3 people exited in the first year and a half, and my 4 original founders stayed with me all the way up until about 2.5 years ago. And then my last founder that was part of the original company just left in the last 6 months due to health reasons. And so we built the world's largest digital sales training company. Now, back to your original question of how did FlyMSG come about?
Yes.
FlyMSG came about as a direct result of us building a training program. And in that training program for business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and salespeople, what we found is they were using our templates and scripts to be able to create conversations online, whether it was a cold template or whether it was wishing someone a congratulations on their work anniversary. And that playbook that they had was 27 pages long. And what would happen is they would store that as a Word doc. In addition to our 60 different scripts that they also had their own set of greatest hits or scripts that they used, and that they would store on a Google Doc, Word doc, OneNote, Evernote, Notepad, notebook, draft email, or worse yet, they would store it on their, they would go and hunt and peck for it in their sent folder. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that discovery was a eye-opener because we did a time motion study. And what we figured out is people were actually spending anywhere between 3 to 15 minutes just to find and send a message. So we said, what if we created a text expander where we can put all of these messages into the cloud? Once we put them into the cloud, then what would happen is someone would type out a quick shortcut, and they could deploy that message out on LinkedIn, on email, wherever they were at. So that's how we built FlyMSG. And it was originally to support our sales training program. We opened it up to the public. We just put it out on the Chrome store. It didn't cost a thing. It was totally free. And what we discovered was it wasn't just a sales tool. It had a horizontal use. We had online digital pharmacists, Google developers that were utilizing this FlyMSG, FlyMSG.io as a text expander. And we had mortgage brokers. We had everybody you could think, accounts payable, salespeople, customer service rep, customer success. So then my co-founder and I, Vivica, we decided that we were going to build a SaaS business around this. And we transitioned essentially from a service-based company into a software-based company. Yeah. And as we built that, we really started thinking about time motion, time and the motions that a seller was going through. And so in our training, which we still have today for an entrepreneur or solopreneur, it's all on demand, 15 hours of sales training content that teaches you how to engage with your buyer and how to write messaging. So in that, we still give away our sales scripts, which are now stored as templates inside of FlyMSG. And we also gave you FlyMSG, the text expander that quickly deployed them out everywhere online, ubiquitously, no matter what platform. So millions of websites. But we taught you how to engage with a buyer on LinkedIn. But there was a problem. The problem was if I was selling to you, Josh, I'd have to go to your profile. Yeah. Then I would have to open up your posts. Yeah. Then I would have to read all of your posts to determine which one do I think I can write an intelligent comment on. Then I write a comment. Then I edit it. That process alone for writing and engaging on a comment took anywhere between 6 to 12 minutes per comment, per engagement. So what did reps do? They didn't do anything. All they did was like a post, thinking that that would get the buyer's attention. And in fact, it does not. So we decided to add in AI into FlyMSG and make it a full AI writer so that we can read someone's post, write a comment for them, and get them up to 95% of the way there. Now, when I say 95, I truly mean that hopefully the only thing you have to do is only mention or tag that individual. And you, by the way, anybody listening, never publish a comment without tagging the individual. Always tag, especially if you're in sales. Wow. But with that in mind, so we added that on, and we took that time, the 6 to 12 minutes, for writing a comment and reading posts. We took that down from 6 to 12 minutes, programming it with 7 years of our social selling training program. You literally have Mario Martinez every single time you click that button. You have Mario writing a comment for you. We took that down to less than 45 seconds. Wow, interesting. So let's think about this. If you were prospecting to 25 new prospects per day using LinkedIn, assuming every one of them had a comment that you were going to engage with, that would approximately take you up to 6 hours to write all those comments for 25 prospects, right? Using the high end. So we now bring that down into a matter of seconds so that you can scale your engagement and move on to other high-value touch points, text, email, phone call, whatever it may be. So we added that on, and then we figured out there was one more problem that salespeople were also having, and that was they would connect on LinkedIn with a buyer. Okay. They may comment with a buyer, but they were missing one of the most important elements of connecting with a buyer and having LinkedIn do it for you. You want to know what it is?
What is that?
When you and I connect on LinkedIn, if we message one time back and forth in the messaging, whether it's Navigator or whether it's LinkedIn, one time, for the next 3 weeks after forging that connection, LinkedIn will serve up my content in your newsfeed and your content in my newsfeed.
Interesting.
Okay, now this is mind-blowing right here. For 3 weeks, that's the algorithm. Now, this is mind-blowing right here. If you think about this, most reps connect and email, and most business owners don't even connect. Most entrepreneurs try to connect, and then they email or phone call.
Yeah.
You can do those things, but what you can't forget is the ever so important welcome message, which is what we teach in our training program, that once you connect with somebody, you say, thank you so much for connecting, Josh. Hey, by the way, generally when I work with business owners, there's usually a problem they're trying to solve, and one of them happens to be trying to book more meetings or get more appointments. If that's a problem for you, here's a piece of content that I think might be of value to you, which helps you be able to book get a yes to 69% of the time to a meeting request. Now, if you have a problem with booking meetings, what are you going to do? You're going to click on that asset and see what it's all about. And so we really we send that, and then we close that message using our pvcsalesmethod.com. You can go there, pvcsalesmethod.com, and you close it with a CTA. And so good news is you can use FlyMSG to build out these welcome messages real quickly. Wow. Then what happens is you answer the question saying, actually, I don't have that problem, or I do have that problem. Boom. Next 3 weeks, guess whose content is showing up in your newsfeed? But here's the problem. Business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales reps don't have the time to write content. So we solved that problem. In fact, our time motion study showed it took 32 minutes for the average non-social media writer to write a social media post for LinkedIn. 32 minutes. So why didn't people do it? Because it took too long. So now we built in FlyPosts AI, which is a component of FlyMSG. You click on Start a Post on LinkedIn, FlyMSG pops up or FlyPost pops up. You can click on the Thought Leadership button. The entire prompt is ready to go. All you have to do is double-click Insert Topic and change the topic. And now you've got Mario Martinez, a top social media influencer, his brain writing for you your social media posts. Yeah. Now, putting this all together, we teach you how to write messaging. We teach you how to engage through Fly Learning, our on-demand training content. We give you FlyMSG, the text expander, to build out all those messages, the 60 templates, plus your own that you created anywhere online. And I help you engage with your buyers through commenting. And more importantly, I help you develop your own individual thought leadership right there directly on LinkedIn. And you don't have to be a social media expert. You just use FlyPosts.
That's very interesting. All that, you put it all together in one platform. And you also not only gave us all that insights, you not only gave us this whole platform, by the way, you gave us insights into how LinkedIn really works. So you're saying that, first off, 3 weeks, you're going to be constantly be fed each other after that connection period. But you're also saying that it's so important to be commenting on your prospects' post. How important this is, real quickly?
Well, commenting on your prospects' posts is the quintessential step in opening up LinkedIn engagement. If all you're doing is liking, so are the other 25 people, and that doesn't get the attention. In fact, if you comment on that person's post and they don't open their LinkedIn notifications on mobile or desktop,
yep,
guess what is going to be sent to them in their email? They will receive an email from @linkedin.com, which has 100% deliverability rate, that says, Mario Martinez has mentioned you on a post. It has your picture in that email, your headline, and it has a portion of your comment inside there. So you literally are getting inside their box by commenting. But here's the thing. Yes, commenting. Yes, you can reach out to connect once there's created a social selling trigger. They've looked at your profile. They've engaged back with your comment, right? Or if you reach out to connect cold, you send a personalized connection request.
Yes.
Then you send a welcome message using FlyMSG, store your template, and ask them a question to solicit engagement. If you get a one-to-one response back, now for the next 3 weeks, the content will be served up, because LinkedIn's trying to basically says, hey, I think these guys are new friends. I want to help them become better friends, and I want to share with them each other's content. And so you're going to continue emailing, cold calling, texting, gift marketing, and at the same time, you've got this LinkedIn channel working for you. And the best part is that when they're scrolling on their newsfeed and sitting on the toilet, even if they're not engaging, they may be seeing your content. When you tag them and mention them inside of a comment or a post, guess what they'll receive? A notification. And those notifications are the powerful tools that really help to get you in front of a prospect. And here's the clincher. When they click and look back at your profile because you're engaging, that is called a trigger event, and that gives you permission to continue to reach out.
That's fantastic. And this is all insightful, and especially when it comes to the workings behind LinkedIn and how you open it up, right? You open it up. This is how it works, but you inserted your sales expertise, your sales magic into there, and then you just built this messaging AI that is just going to skyrocket you, fly you into the stratosphere. I love that, Mario. And again, I appreciate all the insights and all the workings around FlyMSG AI. I really want to get into more of your leadership style, but we do have now a few minutes left. But first, Mario, I want to ask you a question. This question and all the experience that you've had before. Your leadership style is described as direct and loyal, and your team is notably diverse as well. But this reflects as well in your personality and how you approach these sales and how you talk about it is very, very apparent, right? That you foster inclusive culture, you encourage excellence, and it is all within Vengreso, right? First off, congratulations on this massively successful FlyMSG AI. I will check it out myself. I will have my clients check it out as well. But Mario, talk to me about Vengreso. Talk to me about your leadership, your experience with Vengreso, and the future rather. How do you see yourself with Vengreso making an impact, and what are the future aspirations of Mario Martinez?
Well, the future aspirations and the impact is really centers all around the vision of FlyMSG being the super productivity app that really is all around the message. I don't care if the message is internal or external. If you write it or we write it, the idea is that we want to be that writing tool of choice that's going to help you create engagement with your target audience. And it could be someone internal or external. So what you'll start seeing more from us is AI sentence rewrite. You write something, AI is reading it. As you write it, we rewrite it for you, or rewrite even a sentence or a paragraph or a phrase. Right. You'll also begin to see the ability to do things like variables, wherever you're at, you can put in, a template at hey first name, the token, and on that page, if we see someone's name on a LinkedIn profile, we'll scrape that and bring that in and bring it in for you. Those are some cool things. And then into the enterprise. What enterprise organizations want is the ability to be able to have one platform that does many things. And so for us, it's the education, it's the text expansion, it's the AI writer, it's the AI engagement, it's the social media post generator, and that's like that all in one. And so that's where you'll see that at from the enterprise. So for us, for the individual, you're going to get an amazing tool, and the tool is $27 to $132 a year. It's nothing in terms of being able to use it, but it packs a powerful punch. And then into the enterprise. So that's the vision, and that's where we're going. And we're not stopping at all. We're still going strong.
And that is very apparent as well. You are going strong, Mario, and it is quite the bright future for you and Vengreso, and of course, FlyMSG AI. I invite everyone to check that out. I invite our audience and listeners to check that out. Mario, where can we find you? Where can we connect with you? Of course, on LinkedIn. But where else can we talk about and check out FlyMSG AI?
So obviously, if you heard me on this podcast, make sure you say you heard me on Business Story of the Week with Joshua Laurie, and send a personalized connection request so that I know who you are. Otherwise, I'm just going to decline it. But you're welcome to go to FlyMSG.io. That'll take you directly to our FlyMSG application and our site, and you can learn all about Vengreso. And if you really want to get personal, ask me the question of, hey, why is it called Vengreso and FlyMSG? Like, what's the difference between the two? And I'll actually tell you an entire content marketing SEO story behind that. But that having been said, you can find us there. I mentioned pbcsalesmethod.com if you wanted to go there. Moresalescalls.com. So if these are things that help you to remember, certainly look up those sites. But flymsg.io, and you can learn all about the sales teams packages, or the FlyMSG Sales Pro for individuals.
There's so much more to dig into there, so much more to unravel. But Mario, you have already given us so much today in this show, in this episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for introducing to us FlyMSG AI. Mario, anything else you'd like to leave us before we wrap this up? Take us home.
Hey, if you're a seller, prospect better and sell more now with FlyMSG. If you're a non-seller and you don't consider yourself someone that's producing revenue, fine. Type less, do more with FlyMSG.io. Thanks, Joshua, for having me.
Fantastic, Mario. And thank you for being on here. To our audience and listeners out there, see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. Please do me a huge favor and give the Modern Selling Podcast a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Oh, and don't forget, if you'd like to save 20 hours or more in a month and increase your productivity, Go right now and download FlyMSG, that's FlyMSG.io, for free. It's your free text expander and personal writing assistant. Hey, thanks for listening in, and until the next episode, good selling.